Hello, it's Bjorn.
Hello, Bjorn. It's Rowan from Silver Tiger Media. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Excellent, thank you. It's terrific to speak with you again. Thank you very much for your time today.
Likewise.
Now, we're still playing the Ride Majestic every 5 minutes, and now you drop on us something truly amazing in Death Resonance. It's beyond words. How did this release come about?
Well, I think the idea started with, us releasing an EP called Beyond the Infinite, which was exclusively released in Japan, containing leftovers from the Living Infinite recording sessions. And once that was released, we kind of pissed off the rest of the world when the song spread on YouTube as well. Like, why are you not releasing this in the rest of the world? Those songs are fantastic. And quite frankly, we didn't really expect that. So that's how it came about. It's like, we should release this in the rest of the world, but we also have some other tracks lying around in the vault. And then we also have 2 brand new songs that got left over from the Ride Majestic recording session. So we put those together, compiled them together, but we also wanted it to have a little bit of an album feel. So that's why we remixed some of the tracks and then remastered them as well to get a nice flow. And I think it's, sort of showcasing our development as songwriters and musicians. So it will definitely take you on a pretty interesting journey. It's because it's songs from 2005 and forward.
Absolutely.
So, I think
from
it's been
Stepping
really
the Drama onwards, yeah.
Yeah, true.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So why the decision to stop then? I'm presuming there's material back further, but it was basically Stepping the Drama and forward to now. Was that a collective band decision to do things that way?
Well, I mean, we have released the bonus tracks from, the era before Stabbing the Drama. So that's out there. And I think the album is called The Early Chapters.
Yes.
So it's out there. But we had not released, the bonus tracks and leftovers and lost tracks, if you will, from Stabbing the Drama and forward. So I think that's how it happened, and we did compile them together as well.
Indeed. I've got to dig a little deeper, if I may, with the greatest of respect to your seed. The sensational artwork by Mircha is provocative, to say the least. The death set is naturally unavoidable for us all, but what's the significance of the artwork and the relationship to the album?
Well, I think, we went through some really rough times recording the Ride Majestic. We had family members passing away while the recording was going on, and so it made that album very, very special. It was dark times, but I think the music became a big comfort, and I think, this is sort of like the aftermath, and that's sort of what the cover is symbolizing as well, even though it might look a little morbid and a little bit gory for being Soilwork. But this also sort of represents a call from the other side, considering what we went through. And I think the cover for the Ride Majestic was sort of, it was gray, black, and sort of dramatic, but also sort of silent. This is more like colorful, so it's sort of like the aftermath to it, I would say.
Oh, beautifully put. And it does seem on face value that this is a chance to share your rare and unreleased work in case the worst should happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And can I explore some of the magnificent tracks a little further? My Nerves, Your Everyday Tour. What's that all about?
Wow. I can't exactly remember, but it's really, I went through some really rough stuff back then, and relationship wise, and that was one way of channeling the frustration. It's definitely not easy being in a relationship and being a touring musician. So that's sort of what came out, in all of that. And I was living in a house right by the water, and it might seem like it's kind of hard to get frustrated when you live right by the water, but I was at the time, and I couldn't really appreciate, the view I had from the window. The water was right there, but at the same time I couldn't really enjoy it because of the situation I was in. So how it came out.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant. I'm so glad you've said that because I'm looking out a window at the ocean, but I'm in a marriage, so it makes perfect sense. Forever Lost in Vain. I mean, what was the inspiration behind that really brilliant piece?
Yeah, that's a pretty cool song. And it's like, wow, Forever Lost in Vain. I'm trying to remember if it was me who wrote that lyric or if it actually was David. And that's why it's so interesting to listen back to some of those tracks, you know, like some of those tracks you have not heard since they were recorded, and after that you were so focused on listening to the actual album that you kind of forgot about those songs.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm as curious as everyone else, I guess, listening to those tracks and kind of looking back.
And how was it to earlier this year? Did you enjoy the Australian celebration of your music?
Yes, absolutely. That was a great run, and I was really happy to make it to New Zealand as well. That was a great experience, and I had my dad with me on the whole tour as well, which was, you know, first time he's coming with me on tour. But I thought that was the perfect tour for him to tag along, and we did Japan and Korea as well. So it was a great time, and the shows were great as well.
That was my next question, to ask if Dad enjoyed it.
Yeah, he sure did. You know, I think it was really interesting for him, you know, to see how my life is, you know, while I'm out on the road, you know, because of course you come home and you tell your parents of like, oh, how was the tour? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. Where did you go? But it's impossible to explain, you know, to somebody who hasn't, you know, experienced it themselves, you know. So I think it was really, I'm really grateful that he was able to tag along to actually see what it is I'm doing on the road, and he really enjoyed it. Yeah.
What a brilliant insight. So you can say, Dad, it is all about touring on the road. I didn't have a bad upbringing. These songs are not about you.
Exactly.
Now, I've asked you this before, Bjorn, so I apologise, but considering this monumental release, in addition to your releases with the Night Flight Orchestra, do you consider every release to be a benchmark to excel? It seems to be the case. At every release, you need to, or have this deep desire to do better than. Is that the case?
I would say so. You always want to top yourself, you know, and I mean, it's kind of, this is a special release with Death Resonance because it's basically a compilation of old songs and new songs. It's really hard to say if I'm looking at it like it's not a new album, but it's like you know, it's also, you know, especially, you know, we have those two new tracks. We have Death Resonance, the title track, and then we have Helsinki, and I think they give you a little bit of a hint what kind of approach we will have to songwriting for the next album, I would say. So, but in general, you always try to top yourself, and you know, we do get inspired, you know, from ourselves as well, you know, and I think we found a new kind of musical expression through recording The Living Infinite because it was such a big project, and now The Ride Majestic, you know, I think we've managed to develop our sound in a very interesting way, and I think we're definitely topping ourselves, you know, and then I think we've become better songwriters and musicians, and, you know, maybe that sort of primal aggression is gone, you know, that I had on the two first albums, but it's different now. We're still very passionate, you know, about the songwriting. I think you can hear that, you know, and our live shows are improving as well. So things are good, and I guess I didn't really expect this, you know, to be still doing this when I was like, you know, 17 and started the band. You know, it's pretty cool.
Of course. Oh, most certainly. And, of course, the majority of these astounding tracks have been laying in wait for quite a while. As you look back at the track list, do you recall why each one didn't make it to an album or wasn't released worldwide? Do you sort of remember what your thought process was at the time?
I do remember that, you know, I was pretty bummed out that Martyr or Wherever Thorns May Grow didn't make it on the actual albums.
Okay.
I wrote those two tracks, and I was really proud of them, and it was like why? But it was, you know, you have 6 different opinions, and we're a very democratic band, and I remember it was kind of hard to swallow the fact that, you know, they were not going to make it on the album, but So listening now to those tracks, I was like, well, I understand why they didn't make it on the album, but I want them to be released, and here they are. So
indeed, and thankfully so. Yeah. Which prompts me to ask you, Bjorn, which is the track that has been like the itch that you couldn't scratch, one you have been bursting to release on the world, but never found the appropriate time?
I think that would be Martyr, because it was such a great experience recording that song together with Devin Townsend in Vancouver. I was in his basement, and he actually helped me out a little bit with the lyrics as well. So it was a very special experience for me, So that's probably one of the reasons why I was pretty bummed out that it didn't make it on the album, because it was such a moment with Devin Townsend recording that song, So yeah, that would be the track for sure.
Wow, which really increases the significance of that track in itself. I find the release to be 15 utterly astonishing tracks put together in what's basically a masterwork all its own, because it does cover so much of your progression and your collective experience into one album. Do you feel a similar way that it does represent very, very well your progression through the years?
Yes, I really believe that. It's definitely an interesting journey going through those songs, and I'm just really happy that it has, an album feel. That it's not just like a bunch of leftovers thrown out on a disc. It's definitely more than that.
Most certainly, yeah. That's the last thing it is a bunch of B-sides. It has cohesion. It works brilliantly.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's. And maybe it's, better that because some of those tracks, like we mentioned Martyr before, it's a pretty progressive track with some elements that you're not really used to hearing coming from the Soilwork camp, but it maybe it makes more sense now, since we're more of a progressive band now than in 2005, I would say, and, especially for Stabbing the Drama and Sworn to a Great Divide, they were pretty straightforward, but we have a little bit of a different musical expression nowadays, so maybe it actually fits in better today to release this album, I would say.
Most certainly, and I'm not inviting you to sound self-indulgent or anything like that, but is there a certain comfort to knowing that these tracks can be enjoyed and they are out there now?
Yeah, it feels, I'm feeling closure is the key word, maybe. I don't know, but it's, yeah, but I mean, it's not like I've been spending that much time, I was like, why did that track didn't make it, blah, blah, blah. But it kind of rewoke those feelings, from back then. It's like, wow, it was a good track, but finally it's out. So, yeah, it feels good.
And it sounds good, too, I have to assure you.
Yeah.
Look, two things I've always found about you and Soilwork to be completely amazing is the quality of what you produce, but also the speed at which you produce them. This follow-up to the Ride Majestic takes that sensation to a whole new level. I have to ask you, as you look back at this album, previous works and a couple of current works, how do you think you keep producing such quality subject and material?
This might sound weird to some people, but I think our lineup changes have done some really good things. It might look like a circus from the outside, that's like, oh, so this guy's dropping off, like, oh, Soilwork is dead, like, oh, again, and then it's like, oh, that Bjorn, he can't be easy to work with, maybe that's what people think, I don't know, but it's the fact is that it's always been a very democratic band, and even though there's been a new member coming into the band, we've been really open to that person's musical background and what they can bring to the table. I think that's what made us stay alive, that we've been lucky enough to have people coming into the band that brought something new and interesting. And, for example, when we had David and Sylvain coming into the band, they brought something completely different from what I was used to. I was so used to write songs with Peter, since we started the band together. And when they came in, they threw me some stuff that was like, oh, what the hell is this? It doesn't sound like soul, but it's very interesting. And then we kind of developed that. And I think that's been one of the key things in our musical progression, actually. I think that's why it's still interesting, yeah.
Indeed, and if you don't mind an outsider's observation, the fact is that this caps off beautifully all of your previous works and really the namesake of the band, Soilwork, working from the ground up. This highlights how far you've come. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, that's for sure. It's and we still have so much to say. I would say it's just. We feel very passionate and about songwriting. I still think it's so much fun. Maybe I don't enjoy the traveling as much anymore, but as far as, writing songs, being in the studio and doing it together and then, performing it live, it's still really exciting to me. It really is.
Indeed. Well, that's a shame about the travel, because I was going to ask if you can perhaps make it next week to play this album for us. Oh, dear. But we cannot wait to see you again here in Australia, and Death Resonance is a tour all its own, surely. We can't wait to see you live performing these sensational works.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I think it's going to take a while. I don't know if we will be touring Australia for this album, since it's not really like a new album. It's a new release, but it's not a new album, I guess. So it might take a while. Maybe, we've been lucky enough to, touring in Australia for, I think, 6 times.
Yeah. Yep.
So it might take a while, but I really, apart from the traveling, I really love touring Australia, and I really mean that. It's always such a great experience.
And let me assure you, Bjorn, we love having you here. But look, Speed, thank you so much for your time. I realise that you are pressed for time, but thanks for taking the chance to give us an insight into the album. This is tremendous.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, and thank you for calling.
Pleasure indeed. Take care, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Absolutely. You take care as well.
Thank you.
Hope
Bye-bye.
Okay. Cheers. Bye-bye.